The night the sky bled fury onto the Serengeti's ghostlands, it felt as though the world itself was unmaking. Rain didn't just fall, it assaulted the earth in blinding, tearing sheets, and thunder was not a distant rumble, but the crack of doom overhead. When dawn finally broke, reluctant and grey, it revealed a landscape bruised and broken, the familiar contours of the plains lost beneath a silvered sheen of floodwater and debris. It was into this ravaged silence that the Ranger Patrol helicopter ascended its rotors a frantic heartbeat against the bruised canvas of the sky. Their task to count the scars left by nature's rage. But amidst the wreckage, something impossible snagged the pilot's eye. A defiant speck of white against the muddy desolation. A ghost. A myth. Argent, for in these lands, a white lion was more than just a rare predator. It was a whisper from the ancestors, a mythical creature woven into the very soul of the ghost lands. And this one was down-pinned a beacon of stark vulnerability. The air crackled, not just with leftover static, but with an urgent, desperate plea carried across the airwaves. A plea that would soon find its answer. That urgent, crackling summons cut through the ravaged quiet of the Serengeti's ghostlands, destined for Ranger Liam. He wasn't just any warden. The lines of his face, etched deep by sun and time, told stories of a life interwoven with the pulse of this wild expanse. His connection was profound, almost spiritual. He didn't just patrol the ghostlands. He felt its breath, understood its silences. The news of Argent, the injured white lion, hit him with a dual force, the professional tightening in his chest, the immediate instinctual shift into rescue mission mode. But beneath it, a tremor of something else. Awe. Because the ancient legends whispered of the white lion as a sacred guardian, an omen, the very spirit of the land made manifest. He'd heard the folklore, of course, tales of their ethereal appearances, their supposed ability to bridge worlds. Never had he thought. His preparations were meticulous, a ritual honed over years of warden's duty. The heavy-duty cutters, the medical kit, the ropes, each item checked and stowed, not just with efficiency, but with a reverence that bordered on prayer. This felt different, more than a job. It was as if some unspoken pact from a forgotten time was being called due. Perhaps it was the memory of that one eland lost years ago. A shadow that still flickered at the edges of his resolve, fueling his fierce determination to protect the unique, the irreplaceable. Or maybe, just maybe, it was a sense of destiny, a feeling that this encounter with Argent was a moment preordained. As he steered his vehicle into the storm-torn landscape, the weight of generations of stories of his own profound duty seemed to settle on his shoulders. He was driving not just towards an injured animal, but perhaps into the heart of a legend itself. His journey was more than a physical trek. It was a passage into the extraordinary, and the air grew heavy with an unspoken tension as Liam neared the coordinates. The mud sucked at his boots with each step, a grim welcome to the rescue location. What he found there, however, shattered any preconceived notion of a straightforward rescue. Argent lay beneath a fallen acacia. True enough, his magnificent white coat sullied with mud, his breathing shallow, a faint rasp in the otherwise unnerving quiet. But he was not alone. Ringed around him, an unbroken vigil stood the lion. Pride, silent, statuesque. An unexpected obstacle. Their golden eyes like chips of amber in the gloom, fixed on the fallen king. Their muscles rippled beneath tawny hides, not in aggression but in a coiled readiness, and among them, a lioness Zara. Her gaze sharper, more unnervingly intelligent than the others. She seemed to assess Liam not as a threat, but as an unknown variable in their desperate equation. This was unheard of. A pride protecting an injured male, particularly one as distinct as Argent, with such fierce, unwavering intent. Liam felt a cold knot of surprise tighten in his gut. This wasn't just protective instinct, the raw, blind fury he'd seen before. This felt like a counsel, a deliberate, almost sorrowful guardianship. The air was thick, not with overt aggression, but with a profound, challenging stillness, a palpable weight of their collective will. How could he possibly attempt a rescue, a warden's duty? He was sworn to, with these formidable silent sentinels barring the way. Every instinct honed by years in the Serengeti's ghostlands screamed caution. Yet the sight of Argent, so vulnerable, so emblematic of the wild heart he cherished, tore at him. He had to try for Argent for the wild, and for the unspoken plea he imagined in those distant, imperiled golden eyes. He had to try. With painstaking slowness, Liam began his approach, hands held open. Voice a low murmur meant to soothe, not startle. A language of posture, gaze, and intent. Each step was a negotiation, a delicate rescue attempt played out on a nerve-wracking stage. The Pride's reaction was unnervingly synchronized. Heads turned, ears swiveled, but they held their ground. Zara especially. Her eyes never left him, an almost palpable weight of assessment. He could feel the tension, a living thing coiling in the air. A dry leaf skittering across the ground sounded like a gunshot. He reached Argent, his heart a wild drum against his ribs. The great white lion was barely conscious, his breathing a shallow flutter. The massive acacia limb pinned his hind leg at an unnatural angle. This would be a life-or-death struggle. Liam's hands, usually so steady, trembled slightly as he unslung his compact chainsaw. The roar of its engine, when it finally coughed to life, felt like a sacrilege in the profound stillness. He began to cut sawdust, spraying the acrid smell of it, sharp in the damp air. Then disaster. The chain bucked, snarled, and jammed. A curse died on Liam's lips. He couldn't panic. Not now. He grabbed the crowbar, wedging it against the immense trunk, his muscles screaming in protest as he threw his entire weight into the effort. Sweat stung his eyes. For a horrifying moment, nothing. Then a groan of tortured wood. And just as hope flickered, a young brash male from the Pride broke rank, a low growl ripping from its chest as it took a menacing step forward. Liam froze, but before he could react further, Zara let out a single, sharp bark. The young male flinched, hesitating, then slowly, almost reluctantly, sank back into position, his gaze still hot on Liam. It was a test of trust, a silent human-animal communication that spoke volumes. Zara hadn't attacked, hadn't fled. She was watching, waiting. The wood cracked a sound like a gunshot in the tense air. Argent was free, but the ordeal was far from over. Now another, perhaps greater challenge began. The wood cracked a sound like a gunshot in the tense air, and Argent was free, but the ordeal was far from over. Now another, perhaps greater challenge began, as Liam quickly sprayed antiseptic on the mangled leg and wrapped it with gauze. Argent stirred. His eyelids fluttered, then opened, revealing golden orbs of astonishing intensity. For a breathless moment, their gazes locked, man and mythical creature, and an unspoken accord, a profound acknowledgement, seemed to pass between them. Argent's hope, a fragile thing, seemed to flicker in those depths. Then something shifted in the atmosphere. The very air, thick with tension moments before, seemed to soften. Zara. The lead lioness took a hesitant step forward, her movements fluid and deliberate. No aggression. Instead, she nudged Argent's muzzle with her own, a soft rumbling sound emanating from her chest, a gesture so unexpected, so deeply resonant with animal compassion it stole Liam's breath. One by one, other members of the Pride followed their earlier menace, replaced by a startling tenderness nuzzling the white lion, their concern palpable. This was the turning point. This was interspecies. Trust made manifest. Liam's voice was thick with emotion as he radioed for the rescue team, the words catching in his throat. "He's alive. They let me." It was as if Zara, through some ancient, unspoken leadership, had made a pride's decision. They seemed to understand as the distant whir of the approaching vet team's vehicle grew louder. The pride, this wall of golden fur and fierce loyalty, began to part, creating a narrow passage, an act of immense trust, an emotional moment that blurred the lines between species. They would allow this human, this stranger, to take their comrade, their Argent, to safety. As they retreated, Argent's fate hung in the balance, but a fragile bridge of trust had been built across the chasm between their worlds. As they retreated, Argent's fate hung in the balance, but a fragile bridge of trust had been built across the chasm between their worlds. The journey to the veterinary station was a blur of adrenaline and whispered prayers. Weeks turned into a month each day, a small battle in Argent's healing journey. Liam was a constant presence, his quiet dedication a silent promise to the White Lion. He learned the rhythm of Argent's breathing, the flicker of pain in his eyes, the slow return of strength to that magnificent frame. There were setbacks, a fever that raged for 3 terrifying nights, a despairing refusal to eat that had Liam's unwavering hope teetering on the brink. But Argent, a creature of resilience, fought, and slowly, steadily, with skilled veterinary care. And Liam's steadfast vigil, the White Lion began to mend. Meanwhile, beyond the quiet confines of the clinic, the tale of Argent and his guardians began to take on a life of its own. It started as a hushed story, shared between rangers. Then a legend whispered on the wind across the Serengeti's ghostlands. Someone, a junior member of the vet team, perhaps had captured a few shaky images on their phone. The pride's solemn vigil. Zara's unbelievable act of trust. Soon those images, that incredible story of animal compassion and human courage, found its way online. The global inspiration was instantaneous. It became a viral story, a beacon of light in a world hungry for hope. Millions were captivated by Argent's strength, by Liam's dedication, by the sheer, unadulterated power of compassion shown by a lion pride. The legend spread a testament to the profound connections that bind all living things, a ripple of good emanating from a single, courageous act. The day finally arrived, a dawn that promised not just a new beginning for Argent, but a renewed sense of wonder for all who had followed his journey. And so under the vast African sky, the day finally arrived, a dawn that promised not just a new beginning for Argent, but a renewed sense of wonder for all who had followed his journey. The release was quiet, poignant. Liam watched his heart, a mixture of pride and a familiar ache of letting go, as Argent, stronger, now his white coat gleaming, stepped back onto the soil of the Serengeti's ghostlands. There was a moment of stillness. Then a sound rumbled across the plains. A low call answered almost immediately. The pride emerged from the acacia shadows, Zara at their head. The reunion was breathtaking. No aggression, only a soft chorus of rumbles, nuzzles, and licks, a triumphant return, a family made whole. Argent's roar, when it finally came, was not just a sound, but an anthem of resilience, echoing the legacy of courage witnessed for Liam and for the countless souls touched by this transformative experience. The story of Argent the White Lion and his loyal pride became more than a memory. It became a beacon, a lasting inspiration. It spoke of an unbreakable human-animal bond, of interspecies trust, of the profound compassion that exists within the one heart of nature. A beautiful and enduring testament to the interconnectedness of all life.